Jake Morrison stepped off the transport ship and stared at the massive building in front of him. The Galactic Stock Exchange on Veridax Prime looked like a crystal mountain that touched the clouds. Lights flickered inside it like a million fireflies trapped in glass. He had seen pictures before, but standing here made his stomach flip with excitement and fear. "Welcome to the financial center of civilized space," said a tall alien beside him. The creature had blue skin and 4 arms. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Coordinator Thresh. You must be the human representative." Jake nodded and shook one of Thresh's hands. The alien's skin felt cool and smooth. "Yes, sir. Jake Morrison from Earth. I am here to learn your trading systems." Thresh made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Learn? Human? Our markets have operated perfectly for 12,000 years. What could your species possibly teach us?" Jake wanted to argue but kept quiet. He was here to observe, not make enemies on his first day. The inside of the exchange was enormous. Hundreds of aliens from dozens of species stood at terminals that floated in the air. Numbers and symbols Jake did not recognize scrolled past on transparent screens. Everything moved with perfect rhythm, like a machine. Nobody shouted. Nobody seemed excited or worried. They just watched their screens and made trades with calm precision. "Our system is based on pure logic," Thresh explained as they walked through the main floor. "Every trader uses algorithms that calculate the exact value of every asset. When you remove emotion from investing, you remove error." "But does not that make everything predictable?" Jake asked. "Predictable means stable," Thresh said firmly. "Stability is the foundation of prosperity. Your human markets crash every few years because you let feelings control your decisions." Jake could not argue with that. Earth's financial history was messy, but something about this place felt wrong. Too quiet, too perfect. Thresh led him to a small terminal in the corner. "This is your workspace. You may observe and make small practice trades. Do not expect significant returns. The market has already reached optimal efficiency." For 3 days, Jake watched. He studied the patterns. Every species traded the same way. They fed data into their algorithms, and the algorithms told them what to buy or sell. Prices barely moved. A stock might go up 2% over a week, and aliens celebrated it as a major event. On the 4th day, Jake noticed something interesting. A small mining company on the outer rim was trading at very low prices. According to the data, the company had average equipment and average workers. Nothing special. The algorithms rated it as a neutral investment. But Jake had read the company's recent reports. The CEO seemed passionate. The workers had sent messages talking about a promising new asteroid field they wanted to explore. The algorithms had dismissed this as irrelevant emotional data. Jake felt something his grandfather used to call a hunch. It was not based on math. It was just a feeling in his gut that said this company was going somewhere. He bought 5,000 shares. Thresh noticed immediately. Now the coordinator rushed over with his 4 arms waving. "What have you done? You purchased stock in Outer Rim Mining? Their efficiency rating is only 62%. The algorithms show zero growth potential." "I know," Jake said, "but I think the algorithms missed something." "Algorithms do not miss things." Thresh's voice went high and squeaky. "They process all available data. You have made an illogical choice based on what? Instinct? That is not investing. That is gambling." Other aliens stopped working and stared. A few came closer to watch. Jake felt his face get hot, but he stood his ground. "On Earth, we call it taking a calculated risk." "There is nothing calculated about ignoring data," said a Krell trader nearby. The Krell looked like a walking crystal with too many edges. Emotional decisions lead to losses." Jake went back to his terminal and tried to ignore the whispers around him. Maybe he had made a mistake. Maybe his hunch was wrong. The first day passed and nothing happened. The second day, the stock dropped 1%. Thresh walked past his terminal 3 times, shaking his head each time. On the 3rd day, Jake arrived to find chaos. Well, not chaos by human standards, but aliens were moving faster than usual and talking in urgent whispers. Thresh rushed over with all 4 arms full of data tablets. "What is happening?" Jake asked. "Your mining company," Thresh said, his voice shaking. "They discovered a massive asteroid. Pure platinum and rare minerals worth billions. The stock price has increased 340% in 6 hours. Jake pulled up his terminal. His 5,000 shares were now worth 17 times what he paid. In 3 days, he had made more profit than most aliens made in a year. "How did you know?" asked the Krell trader, pushing closer. "What algorithm did you use? What data did we miss?" "I did not use an algorithm," Jake said slowly. "I just read between the lines. The company seemed excited about something. That passion usually means they found something worth being excited about." "Passion is not data," Thresh said, but his voice was not angry now. It was confused and maybe a little scared. "You cannot base financial decisions on feelings." "But I did," Jake said, "and it worked." Within an hour, representatives from 6 different financial institutions came to interview Jake. They all asked the same questions. What system did he use? What calculations? Nah, what secret data? He kept giving them the same answer. He had a feeling. He trusted his gut. They did not believe him. Feelings could not beat 12,000 years of logical perfection. There had to be a secret algorithm. There had to be a pattern they could copy. That evening, Jake sat alone at his terminal and smiled. These aliens had built a perfect system, but perfect systems do not grow. They just maintain. Back on Earth, the markets were messy and emotional and sometimes crashed. But they also created opportunities. They rewarded risk and innovation. Maybe that was what this galaxy needed, a little chaos. The next morning, Jake received a message. The Galactic Financial Council wanted to see him. They had questions about his dangerous new trading methodology. Jake saved his data and stood up. Let them ask their questions. He had a feeling this was about to get very interesting. Jake sat in his small apartment on Earth and stared at his computer screen. 3 faces looked back at him through the video call. He had spent 2 weeks finding these people, and now he needed to convince them to join him. "So let me understand this correctly," said Lisa Chen, tapping her fingers on her desk. She was a day trader from New York with sharp eyes and quick instincts. "You want us to go to another planet and gamble with alien money?" "It is not gambling," Jake said. "It is investing the human way. The aliens have made their markets so logical that nothing ever changes. They have created a system with no room for growth." "Sounds boring," said Kevin Brooks. He was leaning back in his chair in Chicago, wearing an old college shirt. Kevin had worked on Wall Street for 10 years before quitting because he found it too predictable. "What is in it for us?" "The chance to change how an entire galaxy thinks about money," Jake said. "Plus, they are paying us very well." The third face belonged to Maya Patel, a woman from London who had made millions trading cryptocurrency. She was younger than the others, but had a reputation for seeing patterns nobody else noticed. "I read your report about the mining company trade. The aliens really could not understand why you made that choice." "They kept asking for my algorithm," Jake said. "They cannot accept that humans use intuition. Everything has to fit into a formula for them. Intuition is just pattern recognition that happens too fast for conscious thought," Maya said, grinning. "Our brains process thousands of tiny details and give us a feeling. The aliens probably have the same capability, but they have trained themselves to ignore it." "Exactly," Jake said, getting excited. "That is our advantage. We can see what their algorithms miss." Lisa stopped tapping her fingers. "What happens if we fail? If we lose their money?" "Then we come home and they probably never let humans trade again," Jake admitted. "But I do not think we will fail. I think we are going to show them something they have never seen before." Kevin sat forward. "I am in. This sounds more interesting than anything I have done in years." "Me too," Maya said. "When do we leave?" Lisa was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "Why not? Earth markets are too crowded anyway." 2 months later, and all 4 of them stood on the trading floor of the Galactic Stock Exchange. Thresh had given them a corner with 4 terminals and a small budget to start. Other aliens watched them with curiosity and doubt. "Remember," Jake said quietly to his team, "we are not here to follow their rules. We are here to trust our instincts." Maya went first. She had been studying agricultural reports from a planet called Thessia 4. The algorithms all said the planet's farming industry would decline over the next year due to climate shift. But Maya had looked deeper. She found weather patterns that suggested the climate would actually improve crop yields in certain regions. She invested heavily in 3 Thessian farming cooperatives. The aliens around them started whispering. Thresh came over immediately. Ari, those investments go against all predictive models. The climate data clearly shows negative trends. Your models look at averages, Maya said calmly. I am looking at specific regional microclimates. Sometimes the details matter more than the big picture. Kevin was next. He had been reading employee reports from a major shipping corporation. The company's numbers looked great. Profits were up. Efficiency was high. Every algorithm rated it as a strong buy. But Kevin noticed something in the employee satisfaction surveys. Morale was dropping. Workers complained about new management. Several key engineers had quietly resigned. He sold short on the company's stock, betting that the price would fall. That is insane, said a Vorton trader nearby. Curry, that company is the most stable shipping operation in 3 sectors. Stable on paper, Kevin said, but unhappy workers make mistakes. Mistakes cost money. Give it time. Lisa was the most aggressive. She found a small entertainment company that made holographic games. The company was losing money and most traders were avoiding it. But Lisa had actually played one of their games. The technology was amazing. The story was creative. The problem was just marketing. She bought 20,000 shares at rock-bottom prices. You are investing in a failing company, Thresh said, sounding almost worried now. Their quarterly losses are substantial. Their product is good, Lisa said. Good products find audiences eventually, especially if someone believes in them enough to invest. The other aliens on the trading floor could not stop watching the humans. This was not how investing worked. You did not bet against data. You did not trust feelings over facts. You did not buy failing companies because you liked their games. 3 days passed. Maya's farming stocks started climbing as unusual weather patterns proved her regional analysis correct. The aliens checked and rechecked their climate models, confused about what they had missed. 1 week passed. Kevin's shipping company announced a major accident caused by poorly maintained equipment. The stock price dropped 30% in a single day. Kevin closed his position with massive profits. How did you predict an accident? A Krell trader demanded. I did not, Kevin said. Now I predicted that low morale would lead to problems. The accident was just one possibility. 2 weeks passed. Lisa's entertainment company got noticed by a major media network. Their games started going viral across multiple planets. The stock price jumped 400%. Lisa sold half her shares and kept the rest for long-term growth. Thresh stood in front of the human team with all 4 arms crossed. Around them, dozens of aliens had stopped working to watch. This should not be possible. You are making decisions that contradict established financial theory. We are making decisions based on human financial theory, Jake said. Your markets are like standing water, safe but stagnant. You need movement to stay healthy. A young Vortan pushed through the crowd. Can you teach us? How do we learn to trade like humans? Jake looked at his team. They had only been here 2 weeks and already things were changing. I am not sure you can learn it. It is not about following steps. It is about trusting yourself even when the data says you are wrong. That sounds terrifying, said the Vortan. It is, Lisa said, smiling. That is what makes it fun. By the end of the month, news had spread to 40 planets. Humans were beating the market using methods that made no logical sense. Financial institutions from across the galaxy started sending messages. They wanted to hire human advisors. They wanted to learn these mysterious techniques. Jake sat at his terminal and watched the numbers flow past. Something big was starting. He could feel it. The galaxy's perfect, logical, boring markets were about to get very interesting. Now he just hoped they were ready for what came next. 6 months after Jake's team arrived, the Galactic Stock Exchange looked completely different. Humans were everywhere. Young traders from Earth walked the floors with data tablets, talking to alien clients who paid enormous fees for their advice. The quiet, orderly trading floor now buzzed with energy and debate. Sophie Grant was one of the new arrivals. She was 26 years old and had made her fortune trading tech stocks in California. Now she stood at her terminal on Veridex Prime, staring at the biggest opportunity of her career. The Nexus Energy conglomerate was the largest power company in the galaxy. They supplied energy to 200 planets and had never lost money in their 3,000-year history. Every algorithm in existence rated them as the safest investment possible. Their stock price had climbed steadily for centuries. Sophie thought they were about to crash. You cannot be serious, said her supervisor, a senior Zenthari banker named Korvax. His tentacles waved nervously as he looked at her screen. You want to bet against Nexus Energy? That is financial suicide. Look at their leadership structure, Sophie said, pulling up documents. Their CEO has been in power for 60 years. He never takes risks. He never innovates. The company runs on autopilot. That is why they are stable, Korvac said. Consistency equals reliability. But their CEO is getting old, Sophie continued. I have been reading his recent speeches. He is worried about his legacy. He wants to do something big before he retires. People who want to prove themselves make bad decisions. Korvac's tentacles went very still. You are basing a major financial decision on psychology? On what someone might do because of their feelings? Yes, Sophie said simply. That is what humans do. She placed her bet. 5 million credits against Nexus Energy. If the stock price fell, she would make a fortune. If it rose or stayed the same, she would lose everything. Jake heard about Sophie's trade within an hour. He found her in the cafeteria, eating something that looked like blue pudding, but tasted like chicken. That is a very big risk you took, he said, sitting down across from her. You told us to trust our instincts, Sophie said. My instincts say that CEO is about to make a mistake. What if you are wrong? Sophie shrugged. Then I go home and get a normal job. But I do not think I am wrong. I have seen this pattern before with human executives. A pride makes people stupid. 3 days later, Nexus Energy made an announcement. They were investing their entire reserve fund into experimental quantum power technology. The CEO gave a long speech about innovation and progress in securing his company's future for the next 1,000 years. The alien traders cheered. Finally, Nexus Energy was taking bold action. Surely this would make the stock price soar. But Sophie had read the technical reports on quantum power. The technology was not ready. It would take decades to develop properly. Nexus was gambling their entire reserve on something that might never work. The market took 6 hours to realize what Sophie had seen immediately. Quantum power was too risky. Nexus had abandoned their safe strategy for an uncertain dream. The stock price started to fall, then it fell faster. And then it crashed. In one day, Nexus Energy lost 40% of its value. Sophie closed her position and walked away with 18 million credits in profit. She was 26 years old and had just made more money than most aliens earned in 10 lifetimes. The market went crazy after that. Not just Nexus Energy, but everything. Stock prices that had barely moved for centuries suddenly swung up and down by huge amounts. Alien traders panicked because their algorithms could not handle the volatility. The programs were designed for stable, predictable markets. They had no idea what to do when prices jumped around wildly. Conservative species like the methodical Krell started pulling their money out entirely. This is chaos, their representatives declared. We cannot invest in markets that behave irrationally. But aggressive species like the Vorton Collective loved it. They hired dozens of human advisors and started making risky bets. Some Vortans lost everything. Others became incredibly wealthy. For the first time in thousands of years, fortunes were being made and lost in single days. Jake watched from his terminal as the entire galactic economy shifted. Maya sat beside him, tracking dozens of markets at once. This is getting out of control, she said quietly. I know, Jake said. We changed how they think about investing. Now everyone wants to be bold and take risks, but most of them do not understand how. Kevin came over with Lisa right behind him. The Zenthari Banking Consortium just lost 60% of their value, Kevin said. Their algorithms tried to predict market emotions and created feedback loops instead. They are in free fall. How many other institutions are in trouble? Jake asked. At least 40, Lisa said, looking pale. The conservative traders are fleeing the market. The aggressive ones are making wild bets. Nobody knows what anything is worth anymore because the prices change too fast. Across the trading floor, alarms started going off. Red lights flashed on dozens of terminals. Thresh ran past them with all 4 arms full of data tablets, shouting orders in 3 different languages. What is happening? Maya asked a nearby Krell trader. The Galactic Reserve is trying to stabilize prices, the Krell said, his crystal body flickering with stress. But it is not working. The algorithms keep fighting each other. Every time they try to set a baseline, human traders and their alien students make moves that break the pattern. Sophie appeared beside Jake's terminal. She did not look happy anymore. "This is my fault," she said. "The Nexus crash started everything. I proved that even the safest companies could fail. Now nobody trusts anything." "It is not just you," Jake said. "It is all of us. We showed them that emotions matter in markets, but we forgot to teach them how to control those emotions." The market dropped another 10%, then 15%. Banks that had existed for millennia announced they were closing. Species that had been wealthy for generations watched their fortunes disappear. The orderly, logical, boring market that had run perfectly for 12,000 years was tearing itself apart. My coordinator Thresh appeared in front of the human team. His blue skin looked almost gray with stress. "The Galactic Financial Council has called an emergency meeting. They want all of you there. Now." "Are we in trouble?" Lisa asked. "Trouble?" Thresh's voice cracked. "The entire galactic economy is collapsing. Trillions of beings might lose everything. Yes, you are in trouble. We are all in trouble." Jake stood up and looked at his team. They had wanted to bring change to the galaxy. They had wanted to show aliens that emotions and instincts had value. They had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Now they had to figure out how to fix what they had broken before the whole system came crashing down. The Galactic Financial Council met in a massive chamber carved from a single piece of black stone. Representatives from every major civilization sat in curved rows that rose toward the ceiling. Jake had never seen so many different species in one room. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had eyes, others sensed through vibrations or magnetic fields. But they all had one thing in common right now. They were all furious. Jake and his team sat at a table in the center of the room. Spotlights made them feel like criminals on trial. In a way, they were. Chancellor Mordax, a being made of flowing liquid metal, spoke first. His voice echoed like thunder. "In 6 months, humanity has destroyed financial stability that lasted 12,000 years. The Zenthari banking consortium has collapsed. 42 major institutions face bankruptcy. Trillions of credits have vanished. Entire planets are facing economic ruin." "We did not mean for this to happen," Jake said, his voice sounding small in the huge chamber. "Intent does not matter," snapped a Krell elder. "Results matter. Your emotional trading has infected our markets like a disease. Algorithms that worked perfectly for millennia now fail daily. Nothing is predictable anymore. Nothing is safe." Sophie stood up beside Jake. "With respect, your markets were not perfect. They were dead. Nothing grew. Nothing changed. You had stability, but no opportunity." "We had peace," Mordax's voice boomed louder. "We had order. Now we have chaos." A Vortan representative raised one of her 6 arms. "Not all of us agree, Chancellor. My people have profited greatly from market volatility. We have learned from the humans. Risk creates opportunity." "Risk creates disaster," the Krell elder shot back. "Look at what happened to Nexus Energy, a 3,000-year-old company destroyed in a single day because of emotional decisions." "Nexus destroyed itself," Kevin said, standing now. "Their CEO made a bad choice because he wanted glory. That would have happened eventually, even without us. But your presence accelerated it," said a Zenthari banker. "You taught the market to react emotionally. When Nexus fell, panic spread instantly. In the old system, algorithms would have absorbed the loss gradually. Instead, fear created a cascade." Maya stood next to Kevin. "Your algorithms were not absorbing anything. They were just hiding problems. You had created an illusion of stability by making sure nothing ever really changed." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species defended the humans. Others demanded they be banned from all financial systems. The noise grew so loud that Chancellor Mordax had to slam his metallic fist on his podium 3 times before everyone quieted down. "Enough," Mordax said. "Humans, you have one chance to explain yourselves. Why should we not expel your species from galactic markets forever?" Jake looked at his team. Lisa nodded at him to speak. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Because you are trying to solve the wrong problem," Jake said. "You keep saying we brought chaos to your markets. But chaos was always there. You just refuse to see it." "Explain," Mordax demanded. "Every sentient being has emotions," Jake said, finding his confidence now. "Fear, hope, greed, caution. You built algorithms to ignore those emotions. But the emotions did not go away. They just got buried. Your markets looked stable, but they were fragile. One crack, and everything would shatter. So you decided to shatter it yourself? The Krell elder asked coldly. No, Lisa said, stepping forward. We showed you that emotions are data too. When Sophie bet against Nexus Energy, she was reading emotional data that your algorithms ignored. The CEO's pride, his fear of being forgotten, that information was real and valuable. But it created panic, a Zenthari banker said. When Sophie was proven right, everyone questioned everything. If Nexus could fail, anything could fail. Yes, Maya said, and that is actually healthy. Nothing should be assumed safe forever. Companies should have to earn trust continuously, not just coast on old reputations. Sophie spoke up now. On Earth, our markets crash sometimes. It is painful and scary. But we recover because we accept that volatility is natural. You have been running from volatility for so long that when it finally caught up, you had no idea how to handle it. Coordinator Thresh stood from his seat in the observer section. If I may speak, Chancellor? Mordax nodded. Thresh walked to stand beside the human team. I have worked with these humans for 6 months, Thresh said. At first I thought they were reckless and dangerous. But I have learned something. They are not just gambling. They use a different kind of intelligence. They read patterns in behavior, in culture, in emotion. These are real patterns, as valid as mathematical ones. So what do you suggest? Mordax asked. A hybrid system, Jake said quickly. Keep your algorithms for baseline stability. But add emotional analysis too. Create checks and balances. When markets swing too far too fast, pause trading to let emotions cool. But also allow enough movement for growth and opportunity. Kevin pulled out a tablet and displayed a chart on the chamber's main screen. We have been working on this for the past week. Look, this shows trading volume over the last 12,000 years. The line was almost completely flat. This is not a healthy market. This is a dead market. Now look at the last 6 months. The line jumped and dipped dramatically. Too much chaos. I agree. But somewhere between these extremes is the right balance. Maya showed another chart. We studied Earth's financial history. Our most stable periods are not when markets are frozen. They are when markets have room to move, but also have safeguards. And we call them circuit breakers. When prices drop too fast, trading pauses automatically. It gives everyone time to think instead of just react. Lisa showed a third chart. We also track emotional sentiment in our markets. Fear indexes, confidence measures, risk appetite. These sound fuzzy, but they predict market behavior better than pure math sometimes. You need both logic and emotion working together. A young Krell economist stood from the back rows. Jake recognized him as Vexlar, someone who had been studying human trading methods. I support the human proposal, Vexlar said. My species has relied on pure logic for so long that we have forgotten we are not machines. We are living beings. Our markets should reflect that. Heresy, the Krell elder hissed. No, Vexler said firmly, evolution. And we should adapt or become obsolete. More voices joined in. The Vorton Collective voiced strong support. Several smaller species agreed. The Zenthari were split, with younger members supporting change while older ones resisted. Chancellor Mordax raised his hand for silence. We will vote on implementing the hybrid exchange protocol on a trial basis. 1 year. If the markets stabilize, we continue. If they collapse further, humanity will be banned from galactic financial systems, and we return to pure algorithmic trading. The vote was close. 215 species in favor, 190 against. Mordax looked at Jake with eyes that burned like stars. You have your chance, human. Do not waste it. The entire galaxy is watching. If you fail, you will be remembered as the species that destroyed economic civilization. Jake met his gaze steadily. If we succeed, we will be remembered as the species that taught the galaxy how to grow again. 3 months after the vote, Jake stood in front of a massive screen showing the Galactic Stock Exchange in real time. Numbers flowed past in colors he had learned to understand. Green meant growth. Red meant decline. Yellow meant pause. The circuit breakers were working. Market volatility is down 40% from peak chaos. Maya said, walking up beside him with a cup of coffee. Real Earth coffee, shipped all the way from home. But trading volume is up 300% compared to the old system. That is the goal, Jake said. Movement without panic. The hybrid exchange protocol had been running for 90 days now. Yes, it combined alien algorithms with human emotional analysis. Every major trade was evaluated by both computer logic and human intuition. When the two disagreed, a mixed team of aliens and humans reviewed the decision together. More importantly, they had installed the circuit breakers. When any stock dropped more than 15% in an hour, trading paused for 30 minutes. It gave everyone time to breathe and think instead of just reacting with fear. When markets surged too fast, the same rule applied. Forced cooling periods stopped emotional stampedes in both directions. Lisa came running across the trading floor, her tablet in hand. You need to see this. The Krell Collective just announced they are coming back to the market. The Krell! Jake felt his heart jump. The Krell had been the loudest opponents of emotional trading. What? They had pulled all their investments out and refused to participate. Are you sure? Vexlar convinced them, Lisa said, grinning. He showed them performance data. Species using the hybrid system are outperforming pure algorithm traders by an average of 18%. Logic with emotion beats logic alone. Kevin appeared from the other direction. The Zenthari Banking Consortium just went public with their recovery plan. They are adopting our sentiment tracking system. They actually apologized for being slow to adapt. Sophie walked over to join the group. She looked different now, more serious. The weight of nearly crashing the galaxy's economy had changed her. I have been training their new emotional analysis team. They are actually good at it once they stop being afraid of feelings. How many institutions have adopted the full protocol now? Jake asked. 87 major banks and trading houses, Maya said, checking her tablet. Another 200 smaller ones are in training. We have hired 3,000 human advisors, and they are teaching classes on 600 planets. Coordinator Thresh approached the group. His blue skin looked healthier now, not the stressed gray it had been during the crisis. The Galactic Financial Council wants to see you again. All of you. Are we in trouble? Sophie asked nervously. No, Thresh said, and for the first time since Jake had met him, the alien smiled. I think they want to thank you. The council chamber looked different this time. The hostile anger was gone, replaced by cautious optimism. Ashur Chancellor Mordax stood at his podium, his liquid metal body flowing smoothly. When we last gathered here, our economy was collapsing, Mordax began. Many of us blamed humanity for destroying our perfect system. But we have learned something over these past months. Our system was not perfect, it was simply frozen. He gestured to the screens around the chamber, showing market data. The hybrid exchange protocol has proven successful beyond our initial expectations. Markets are active but controlled. Growth is happening but sustainably. Most importantly, different species are developing their own unique trading styles based on their cultural values. A Vortan representative stood. My people have embraced high-risk, high-reward strategies. We accept losses as part of the journey toward gains. This fits our cultural belief in bold action. The Krell elder, who had opposed Jake so strongly, rose next. Jake tensed, but the old alien's voice was calm now. My people have learned to incorporate careful emotional analysis into our logical framework. We move slower than others, but we move with confidence. Young Vexlar has shown us that adaptation is not betrayal of our values. The Zenthari focus on long-term stability with measured risk, added a banker. We combine human sentiment tracking with our traditional caution. Different approaches, all valid. Mordax continued. This is what we lost in our quest for perfect efficiency. Diversity. Different species thinking in different ways, creating a rich ecosystem of ideas. Humanity did not destroy our markets. You woke them up. Jake felt emotion tighten his throat. We almost destroyed them first. Yes, Mordax said simply. That was the price of change. But you also showed us how to rebuild better than before. The Council has voted to make the Hybrid Exchange Protocol permanent. We are also establishing the Galactic Economic Diversity Institute. You and your team will lead it. What does that mean exactly? Lisa asked. It means you will travel the galaxy teaching species how to understand their own emotional relationship with money, Mordax explained. Humans are not the only ones with intuition. Every species has unique perspectives. Your job is to help them discover and trust those perspectives. Over the next 6 months, Jake's team split up to cover more ground. Maya went to the Outer Rim to work with newly spacefaring civilizations. Kevin partnered with the Vortan Collective to study aggressive trading strategies. Lisa worked with conservative species on risk management. Sophie stayed at Veridax Prime, training the next generation of hybrid traders. Jake traveled everywhere, speaking at financial conferences, meeting with government officials, teaching classes to young aliens who wanted to learn human methods. But more than that, he listened. He learned how different species thought about value, risk, and trust. The Mytharian people measured worth in time rather than money. The Crystalline Collective valued beauty as much as profit. The nomadic tribes considered relationships more important than assets. Each perspective added new depth to galactic markets. 1 year after the crisis, Jake returned to Earth for a visit. He sat in a coffee shop in Seattle and watched humans rushing past on the street. They had no idea that their messy, emotional, chaotic approach to investing had changed the entire galaxy. His tablet buzzed with a message from Thresh. Market stability maintained for 6 consecutive months. Growth steady across all sectors. The galaxy thanks you. Jake smiled and typed back. The galaxy did not need saving. It just needed permission to feel. He looked out at the rainy street and thought about Veridax Prime. The trading floor would be busy right now. Humans and aliens working side by side. Some making bold bets, others playing it safe. Arguments and celebrations and occasional failures. A living, breathing, growing market that reflected the beautiful chaos of thousands of species trying to build better futures. It was not perfect. Nothing ever was, but it was real and it was alive, and that made all the difference. Jake finished his coffee and booked his flight back to Veridax. He had more work to do. The galaxy was learning to embrace its emotions, and he wanted to be there to watch it grow.